Hello and welcome everyone. This is Mystic. You can call me Angel. Welcome back to my channel and 150 script challenge. As always, I always like to explain that I'm diving into these scripts, not just for entertainment, but also to grow my skills as a writer and as a creative. I read novels. I'm a novel writer. I read script. I'm a script writer. It's part of how I develop my tools. And I decided to take on this challenge publicly to run through 150 scripts. So I'm sharing this process with you. If you've ever decided that this is something, an adventure you'd like to do, I would love to help you with it. If you go to the beginning of this playlist, I do have a video where I talk about the tools that I use and my methods and how I go through scripts. I welcome you to go back and look at that. And I also will include a link for you to go back through to find copies of scripts if you're looking for scripts to do the same journey on your own or with me. So before we get moving, we're going to do a little housekeeping, a little community love. So I do love my community. We have a really great group of creatives and interested people who like to come and just explore and play in the world of creativity. So I appreciate all of you for dropping by and hanging out. If you haven't done it already, please hit the subscribe button and hit that bell so you can get notifications every time something new drops. And I would be so grateful if you would just go ahead and like this video, all to support the work that I'm doing here, and leave a comment. And about the comments, I want to make sure that we're creating and maintaining a safe space for all creators and all writers here. I welcome debate. I welcome different perspectives. This is going to be my take on a script that I read. You may not agree with me. You may not agree with one another. I welcome your opinions. I welcome your discussion. I just ask that we be respectful and kind to each other, that we share grace. I'm always going to be respectful and share grace with you as I talk about any of your ideas. I'd appreciate the same from you. We may not always agree, but that's actually part of the fun. Open debate is healthy, it's growth, and it's fun. There's no reason to argue. Okay, so that's it. That's the housekeeping. As they say, let's get into it. So we are on script number 13. It is still October, and I'm still looking at the Halloween theme, horror movies, and today's script that we are going to read is Aliens. So you may hear me shuffling paperwork. I have lots of notes to go through. So first of all, Aliens. It's a film. It was released in 1986. This script was written by James Cameron. This is a sci-fi action horror film. The script builds on the quiet dread of Alien, but blows it up into kind of an action war film meets a space alien film. So it's really cool. We don't lose the tension, we don't lose the heart, but it definitely does have more escalation in it, bigger stakes, more characters, but we still have Ripley, which is, she is the soul of the original story. She is still here. I always talk about why I choose the script. Well, first of all, I did Alien, and I enjoy the Alien franchise, and I have lots of respect and admiration for James Cameron. So I was really fascinated and curious about doing this script to see how this expanded from the sequel without just repeating it, how it shifts from that survival to the military action with explosions. I really wanted to see how that played out in the script, and that I was just curious about that, how the leadership component between the military and then Ripley's leadership, and if there was any depth that was covered in the script that we didn't see in terms of backstory and other stuff. Often that stuff does miss from script to film. And again, there are going to be some differences, especially in this script, so don't come at me if things don't sound like they sounded in the film. There's lots of differences between what the film showed and what the script is speaking to. So if you haven't seen the film and you want to see the film, you might want to look at it first and then come back and see me do a quick spoiler alert, quick setup of the story. So Ripley, at the end of the first story, drifted out into space after she escaped the Nostromo. So this film starts with Ripley 57 years later found in hypersleep, just floating around out in outer space. No one believes her story about what happened. So she is released and sent into civilian life. A colony on LV-426 goes dark, which is the planet that they went to go where they found the alien. She goes back with a squad of colonial Marines to face that alien, but it's not just one alien, it's like a heck of a lot of aliens, the entire hive. And this time there's a child at the center of survival. So it's a survival story, but it's not just survival with Ripley and her crewmates, it's an entire group of Marines against a horde of aliens, and then Ripley playing a role of both survivalist and mom to protect the child. So that's the story. So when I go into my heart of the story analysis, I always stop with the act structure, kind of overview of the act structure and how I saw it. So in the opening, Ripley wakes. She was in stasis. She wakes. She's in disbelief. She's haunted by nightmares. And then, her license is revoked. She has a daughter that she left behind. We touch on that, which is an interesting bit to introduce to Ripley's arc, because we didn't know that before. She has a daughter. She wants to find her daughter. We meet Burke, and Burke tells her that her daughter died in her mid-60s a couple of years ago before Ripley came home. She died of cancer. She has no children. So Ripley has no family. The inciting incident here, the colony goes silent. Burke convinces Ripley reluctantly to return as an advisor as they go back to try to find out what happened on this colony. Now, the first plot point here is when the Marines land. When they land, the colony is in shambles and there's no colonists. The interesting thing here is I did a lot of comparison as I went through the script, because this movie, when it came out, I was actually in the Marines. So I remember going to see it with my friends and we really enjoyed it. And there's a lot of differences when I see this script versus what I saw in the movie. So between the opening and the inciting incident, we do have kind of a scene that was laid out in the script where we see the aliens discovered and the first attack. So we go to LV-426 where we see the people that live in the colony doing whatever they do. They're a terraforming colony, so they're mining and doing the stuff that they do, and they run into this derelict vessel, which we should know because it was from the other story, and they find something. Next thing we know, there's this we need help. They come back to the main base, and somebody's got the thing on their face, and then that's it. And then we find out that the colony goes dark, and that is what launches us into the inciting incident. So then we go into the plot point, the one where we go to the same base and it's absolutely empty, and there's just shambles everywhere, and the Marines are walking around with their guns, and there are no colonists, just the signs of massacre. But they do find one survivor, the little girl Newt. After that, we go to the next midpoint where we move to the reactor. So we've been inside the base. They can't find anybody. They find the other colonists because they found the trackers. They found all their bio trackers, which leads them to this place where the aliens have set up their little hive. We don't know what it is. We go in and we see the bodies attached all over the place. They find the survivor, and in the survivor, the chest bursting scene, which we all know and love, they destroy the alien, and then the aliens wake up and it's a slaughterhouse. The next plot point is when Burke's betrayal comes to light and the aliens close in, and survival seems impossible. It's just a madhouse. The climax is when Ripley, arms up, descends into the hive to rescue Newt. She faces the alien queen. The resolution: Ripley, Newt, Hicks, Bishop escape, but not without one last fight, because when they get away from the planet, the alien queen is there and Ripley has her famous fight. That's all in the script. So that is kind of the structure as it's laid out. So I have the protagonist arc. Ripley, of course, who is the protagonist. She wants to bury the past and avoid terror. She doesn't want to go back. She just wants to have peace. She wants to let it go and have peace. She needs to confront her trauma. That was really clear. She was riddled with trauma. She has nothing to connect to, and was really interesting the way they brought this forward in the script that kind of connected me at a deeper level than it did when I watched the film. Is 57 years is a long time. She knows nobody. She literally is a fish out of water. She's out of place. So she has nothing to connect to. She has nothing to try to move forward with. So she has to reclaim her agency. She has to reclaim herself. And in that respect, becoming a protector again helped her do that. Her transformation from haunted survivor to that fierce mother figure that she couldn't do. There's a scene in the script where she's talking about her daughter with Burke, and she said, I was supposed to see her. I promised her I'd be back for her 11th birthday. And I guess I didn't make it. She was used to me disappointing her and never making the promises. It was kind of heavy for me and made you think about this child as she grew up. Her mother never came back. She didn't know if she was dead or alive, but she was kind of used to it. So she just kind of went on with her life. She married, but she never had children. As a writer, I thought about that. Like, why would you want to have children? Why would you want to experience being a parent when you, in your opinion, had such a lousy parent? You didn't want to be a parent like her, so you didn't bother. Really, actually, really, really good writing. The antagonist and the conflicts here. The antagonist is the xenomorphs, the aliens, and the queen. Burke is also an antagonist, so it's like the alien represents the antagonist, but the company who's trying to get the alien. And that was a part of the story that was carried forward from the original story, because the reason that they were sent off to the other planet was to get this for the company anyway. So here the company is still the antagonist, represented by Burke. He is the corporate man, the corporate greed, and then we have the aliens themselves that's actually also the antagonist. And the conflict here is man versus monster, but also humanity versus exploitation. Ripley versus Burke is just as powerful as Ripley versus the Queen. The call to adventure, I always want to find a way to tap into the hero's journey with everything. This one is an easier one than some of the other scripts that I've read. The call to adventure is when Burke asks her to return to LV 426. The refusal, she actually refuses. She says, it's not my problem. And then she changes her mind. The trials, everything is a trial. Once she leaves Earth and heads out to LV 426, it's all a trial. The Marines, the betrayal, the hive, the reactor, everything, it's all the trials. And then her transformation, there's a couple of them. She steps into command when Gorman falters and she gets them out of the reactor. When she steps into her power again, when Hicks gives her the weapon and she's got the weapon, when she goes in and rescues Newt, and when she fights the Queen, she transformed into a hero in all these steps, and then she was in her full hero garb by the time we get to the end of the story. And then her return, saving Newt, reclaiming her role as both survivor and protector. The themes that I found in this story, motherhood as power and responsibility. Motherhood tapped in at the beginning when she failed as a mother, and then in the end when she kind of reclaimed that motherhood title by protecting and saving Newt. And trauma doesn't just go away. That's another theme. You have to face it or it will consume you. And that was clearly what Ripley went through. And then another theme, and it seems to be a general theme that just stays with the whole alien universe, is that corporate greed versus human survival. Blinded by just the need to get this thing for weapons at any cost, and it always seems to just cost everything every single time we try. Key emotional beats here. The nightmares that Ripley suffers at the beginning when she's first coming back into touch with humanity. Finding Newt and creating a bond with her. Burke's betrayal. is painful because he locks them in and tries to have them set up with the face huggers. But then there's a moment in the script where when Ripley goes into the reactor to rescue Newt, she hears a sound and she turns, and it's Burke. And Burke has been transformed, and he's all cocooned up, and he's there, and the thing is in him, and he tells her, I have one inside me. It's moving. Help me. And she looks at him, and she's going to walk away, and she decides nobody deserves this. So she gives him, she gives him a bomb. She gives him a bomb and says, here, and walks away. And when she walks away, he hits it, and it was crazy. It wasn't in the film, and I'm like, wow, that was a good scene. They should have kept that one in there. And then get away from her. And when she comes out, Ripley comes out in the thing and fights the queen at the end. That was a great scene that they had written out there. Symbols and motifs. Newt's doll head. When they find Newt, she's walking around with the head of a doll. She's been in this colony by herself for a long period of time, and she's got this doll head, and it kind of represents the element of survival. There's a part of her that's still a child. She's still just an innocent child, and she's been running around surviving, hiding from these monsters, but she's still got this little doll. Really good. The loader, when they introduced the loader in the dock, in the loading dock earlier on, when Ripley shows that she can use it, and she helps them to move things around, and then later the loader actually becomes the weapon to fight off the queen. And then the acid blood is always something, the blood of life being deadly is really wild. A couple of things that also stood out for me, I have here in my notes. There was a thing that they did in the script that he did in the script rather, that I really missed in the film. And this film was so action-packed, and kind of, for me, it was so good that it's hard to walk away with questions, because you're just so impacted by the joy of watching it. But in the script, he detailed very clearly how Newt was able to survive, because she used to play this game with her friends where they would play in the ducks, and they called it the maze. And she was the champion. She was always the one who knew how to hide and get around. And that's how she knew how to hide from the aliens. And that's why she was the only one who was still alive. I felt like that was a really important piece that we needed to know in that film. To have my key craft lessons that I pulled from this. This script was very descriptive. I've read scripts that are all dialogue. I've read scripts that are all descriptive. I talked about A Quiet Place where there was not a lot of dialogue. And I talked about The Omen where there was a lot of dialogue. The description in this script was so good that I could see. It's so clear it was written by someone who directs films, because the instruction on how things were supposed to look, how things were supposed to sound, how things were supposed to feel, what direction we're supposed to move. This was a masterclass in creating clarity when writing the script. Escalation was very clear, and it served the characters. It was not just there for fluff. The supporting characters, the Marines, raised the tension, but kept the focus on the protagonist. Building arcs that resonate with theme. Ripley's bond with Newt was the emotional core of the whole story, and so coming back to that and keeping that right under the surface was really critical. And it also, I got that sequels, when they shift a little bit but preserve the heart, can work so well. This thing didn't try to complete the story of Alien. It respected the first story, like that story happened over here. Now we're going to tap over here and do the same story. We're going to do a little different, and that I really like that. And my personal reflection, I think this script reminded me that you have to have soul, you have to have heart and care when you really throw action down there. you want to care about the characters. Something that in the moment that Ripley left the ship to go into the reactor, Hicks was very interested in her safety. You saw that in the film. He was very interested in her safety in the film, but he was very interested in her safety in the script. And he was injured. He couldn't go with her. She had to go by herself. And she said, "Take care, Hicks." And she looked at him and he said, "It's Dwayne. My name is Dwayne." And she said, "I'm Helen." And he said, hurry back. It was Ellen, excuse me. "Hurry back, Ellen." And I thought that was really cool, because what that did is it shifted. It showed the connection. It showed the care. It showed that these people had been through battle and that they were connected at a different level. I really like that. So it makes me think about my own writing as I go through, and as a horror sci-fi girl, how to use escalation, how to use dialogue, how to show the bonds of characters as you're going through crazy. Because if you're writing something with lots of action, you got the crazy going on in there, and you don't want to lose any of that good stuff as you're going through the crazy. At the core, I believe that the Aliens is about reclaiming life after trauma and how to be able to love again. And I know that that's like, how did you get that out of all that stuff? There's bombs and aliens and things blowing up. But it comes down to staying connected to the arc, to the narrative that's wrapped around your protagonist. And the protagonist is Ripley. Ripley lost her daughter, not because her daughter had an accident, because her daughter was on Earth and lived a natural life, and she died at a natural age. And Ripley wasn't there, and she missed it all. Just missed it all. She slept through it all. The imagery of that, the message of that, Ripley slept through her life. She slept through her daughter's life. And the reality was, in real life, she was sleeping through her daughter's life anyway. She wasn't there. She might as well have been asleep, because she missed everything anyway. So as she went through this arc of going back and finding LV-426 and trying to find the colonists, and then trying to get off the planet with the Marines, she was given the opportunity to reclaim that mother title. And Cameron did that purposefully. He had a scene in the script where Newt says, "How about for now, I just be like your daughter?" It was really good. So it gives us a sense of family and a sense of hope. So that's Aliens. Again, it's another script that we could talk about it all night long. I've already gone past my 20 minutes, so I'm going to give myself a fine for that. So I'm not going to go on any longer for this. I hope that you enjoyed this with me. Again, I ask you to subscribe to my channel, and please like this video if you do, and feel free to leave comments. Thank you for coming by. I hope you have a fabulous day, and I look forward to talking to you when I come back to my next script, which will be script 14 in my 150 script channel. You take care, be well, and always remember, you can do anything in the world that you set your mind to do. The only thing you have to do is believe. Bye-bye for now.